All right, so let me explain the unofficial Cowboys depth chart. And we see right here, CeeDee Lamb is your number 1 wide receiver, and your number 2 wide receiver will be Noah Brown. Your 3rd wide receiver will be Michael Gallup when he's healthy and back into the fold. Just keep in mind that this is the unofficial depth chart. Now, we all know that Michael Gallup could be your number 1 wide receiver or your number 2 wide receiver. Nevertheless, and interchangeable between Simi Fehoko and Jalen Tolbert as well. So this is the unofficial depth chart, but everything else will trickle down from there. As far as your backups, your backup will be Simi Fehoko. He will be the first guy off your backup chart there. And then when you look over here, as far as your other wide receivers, of course, Kevontae Turpin, as well as Jalen Tolbert, those are your other backups. Now, of course, Dennis Houston, he's a guy that will be inserted in as another backup guy. And we would talk about the 46-man roster another day. But when we look at this list, the wide receiver group will be CeeDee Lamb, Noah Brown, and I believe week 1, your 3rd wide receiver will be either Simi Fehoko as well as Kevontae Turpin. And depending on how they uniquely work out this wide receiver group, it will be Dennis Houston. Now let's look at the left tackle. Your starting left tackle will be Tyler Smith, and your backup will be Matt Waletzko. Your starting left guard will be Connor McGovern, and your backup left guard will be Tyler Smith. And the reason why you see Tyler Biadasz as your center, he's the starting center, and you have 2 Matt Farniaks because he is the backup center as well as the backup right guard. And of course, your starting right guard will be Zach Martin, as well as your starting right tackle is Terrence Steele, and Josh Ball will be the backup from there. So these guys, that's how this works. Josh Ball may be your swing tackle in this mix, depending on how they go with this particular roster. Now, keep in mind, Dalton Schultz is your starting tight end, and Jake Ferguson is your backup. Peyton Hendershot is your 3rd tight end. Now, these guys can be on the field at the same time. This is how the depth chart is looking. And of course, they roll with Dak Prescott as your starting quarterback, right? And Cooper Rush is on the backup quarterback situation and scenario. Ezekiel Elliott, and as well as Tony Pollard is your backup running back, and then your 3rd running back will be Rico Didal. All right, so let's look into this. A lot of people been hitting me up with the defensive edge guys, right? Why is Sam Williams so far back there? This group right here, the way that Dan Quinn operates and flow with everything, it's always a situation and scenario that they do a lot of rotations, so you really can't dive too much into this. Nevertheless, DeMarcus Lawrence, your starting defensive edge guy. The other defensive starter will be Dorrance Armstrong. They will be the first rep guys, right? And then on the second wave of rotation, you have Terrell Basham, Dante Fowler, and then with that, you have Sam Williams and Chauncey Golston. I truly believe that those edge guys will be rotated in, and that's just how that goes. As far as your true one tech, defensive tackle, Quentin Bohanna is ahead of Neville Gallimore. He is ahead of John Ridgeway. Neville Gallimore is a guy that was a 3-tech that was converted to a 1-tech. As you look here, Neville Gallimore still may get 3-tech responsibilities. Nevertheless, Osa is your starting 3-tech guy. And you have Tristan Hill to be the backup of that. Remember, they do a lot of rotations with that defensive front, and I want those guys, those boys, to not have any hearts or feelings, right? They just want to be able to get out there to make impact. So they shouldn't look at this depth chart and say, hey, man, I'm the backup or I'm the 3rd string. No, the common goal is to create pressure and put that on the quarterback, all right? So that's just how Dan Quinn operates with this front. On top of that, when you look at the linebackers, of course, Parsons, he is your outside linebacker, and they move him around. They may play him at Mike. They may play him on the weak side. Parsons is the guy that may even be defensive edge guy. Who knows, right? But he's the starter. LVE is the other starter, right? Those are your two linebackers in the confines of this particular defense. Now you have Anthony Barr. You also have as a backup Jabril Cox. And then it goes deep. Luke Gifford and my guy Devin Harper. Those are your linebacker crew right there. And trust me, they will be rotated in and out. And then we can talk about this right here. The safety. Let me just slide all the way down to the safety room because that's better to break it down versus the defensive backs. But let's break this down. Jaron Kearse, he's your big nickel safety / linebacker. He will be a free safety in my opinion. I don't see strong safety out of him. Nevertheless, Donovan Wilson, he's more of a strong safety in this system, and he is the backup of Jaron Kearse. Malik Hooker, he is your starting free safety, as well as the guy that will be rotated in will be my guy Marquise Bell. So the safety room is just like the defensive edge and defensive tackle. They will be rotating and moving those guys in a lot of times. Now let's jump over here to the cornerback room. Of course, your CB1 is Trayvon Diggs and your CB2 is Anthony Brown. Your backup of Anthony Brown is Kelvin Joseph, and your backup of Trayvon Diggs is Nashawn Wright. Dayron Bland is a guy that they love in this system, and they just created a roster spot for him, and he is your quote-unquote backup DB. I have yet to see him play a lot of nickel. Nevertheless, I truly believe if something happened to Jordan Lewis and they looking for somebody to play inside that slot, they would prefer to move Anthony Brown inside that nickel cornerback slot and kick Dayron Bland on the outside. That could truly be the situation, or it could be Nashawn Wright. It just depended on how we face up against a team in that following week, and they will go just that way. And CJ, he just on the roster to be a guy that they have to put somewhere on the roster, right? I don't think that there will be a situation and scenario they call up CJ to do a lot of coverage, right? We know that he's a special teams guy. Breaking down the special teams, of course, Brett Mahar, he's the guy. And, of course, Brian Anger, he's going nowhere. Jake McQuaid, he's the guy. He's solid. And then, of course, you have your Brian Anger again that's out there as a holder. You see how that goes? Kicker, punter, long snap, holder. And then, of course, kickoff return, Kavontae Turpin. They playing coy with us because they would not give us the information of what number he's going to roll with, because there were some kickback. There was some kickback with him wearing number 9, right? So there are storylines of him wearing 16, but we'll find out down the line. And that's why you see Tony Pollard. He's your immediate backup of kickoff return and punt return, Tony Pollard. So this is new to me because Tony Pollard normally don't do punt returns, by the way. And then, of course, you have Rico Didal as well as CeeDee Lamb as your emergency punt return guy on this list. Cowboy Nation, so this is the unofficial Cowboys depth chart, broken down the best way possible. Appreciate each and every last one of you all tuning in. Let me know where you guys are thinking of, and especially when Jason Peters is elevated to the 53-man roster, I truly believe that they would just kick Josh Ball up out of there, right? Or someone else on the offense up out of there to elevate this guy, Jason Peters. But for right now, he's on the practice squad. Cowboy Nation, post me your thoughts, post me your concerns down below. That's been my time. I really thank you all for yours. DC for life. Salute.